Good afternoon. I hope you can hear me.
Good afternoon, sir. We can hear you.
Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon. Just I opened the assignment and today is the date time. So I hope you are aware. And when submission, I need the contribution of the each members also. I want to see that the information already you have. Okay, that's about the assignment. And then just go back to what we discussed last time and where we stopped. Before we start new thing, just quick look at what we discussed last time. And after discuss the short-term or short-run decisions, they are about the 3 stages and based on law of diminishing return. And we found that the producers take the decision at the second stage. And also, if someone wants, you can record also, no problem. And when you come to the long run decision, it's about the long run decision. The theory or concept apply return scale to understand the long run decision. 2 instruments we have to look at, or we have to understand. The one is the production isoquant or isoproduct curve. Last time we introduced. The other one, isocost curve, we did not look at it. Now, so we discussed the isoquant curve is about the same amount of output and the different combination of input is solving. For example, 52, if you look at the isoquant curve, a different combination. And the other important thing is when you talk about the isoquant curve, on the isoquant, any point, the producers are technically efficient. And the third important point is the slope of the isoquant, we call MRTS, the marginal rate of technical substitution. The marginal rate of technical substitution. And the marginal rate of technical substitution, how do you find? Delta K over delta L. And the fourth important point also, the marginal MRTS decreasing when you go along the isoquant curve downward, let's see, decreasing. For example, here you can see MRTS is 2, somewhere below, if you measure, for example, here MRTS 1, likewise down, it's reducing MRTS. And you can see here also that the reducing the MRTS along the curve, the law of diminishing marginal return, what we learn in the short term. At the short term, we saw that the producers take decision at the second stage. At reflection, if you quickly look at the short-run situation, and the producers take the decision in the second stage mean, this is the second stage. You can see the marginal product curve has a negative slope this way. So that's why isoquant curve has a diminishing or negative slope only. If other part, if you take here or this part, it could be maybe some other part also coming, or could be a like a circle. So this reduce MRTS along the down reflect the law of diminishing marginal return. That is the important thing. Now, given production function, that is the important thing in the exam, and also last week I discussed. Given production function, for example, let's say you have a production function 20 L, let's say 5 K 2. It's a given production function. You can find the MRTS. Differentiate this one with respect L. You get the marginal product of labor. Divide by, if you differentiate with respect K, you get the marginal product of capital. So last week we did the exercise also. So that way we can find the MRTs. And we did the exercise also, if I remember. So there also we did a one exercise. We found the MRTS somewhere here and somewhere middle and somewhere down also. The decreasing MRTS we noticed. Something like this. Yeah. With that, the important point here now, we found that the MRTS, so we have to find the optimal, the combination of input. How producers make the decision to allocate the optimal amount of inputs. Now, for example, if you look at, go back and see here, even here, this is one isoquant curve. This is an isoquant curve. To produce 52. To produce 52, we have to find optimal the input combination. Now, when you mention the optimal, this isoquant curve, the label 52, anywhere on the isoquant curve, technically efficient. So that's the problem we have. If only one point we have technical efficient, we can pick up that one, we can say this is the optimal input. But that is not true. When you take the isoquant curve, the producers, wherever use the combination of input, technically efficient. Now, like I discussed the first day, we are heading, or producers looking at the economic efficiency. Now, with economic efficiency, we know the technical efficiency is not enough. Now, if we pick up any point, for example, to produce here the A point, B point, or C, or whatever, D, any, or even the somewhere here, this condition satisfied. And we have to go for the other condition, allocate the efficiency. So that together only reach the economic efficiency. So the optimal combination of input, or to find the optimal combination of input, we have to look at the point where the allocative efficiency also gives. It could be B point or maybe any other point. It depends on the allocative. For that condition that satisfy, if the producer's MRTS equal, MRTS means the slope of the isoquant line, there are some had to be set up. And the input price ratio. Here I use the W for wage rate, R for price of capital. In other words, we can see that we know MRTS, MP, L divided by MPK equal W means the price of labor. R means price of capital. So these conditions, when these conditions satisfy, I say the number one condition or first order condition or necessary condition, the producers reach this optimal point. Optimal point. With that understanding, I will give you a small question here. It's a production function there with the two inputs. The production function there. From here, you can find MRTS. MRTS. How do you find? You first differentiate with the L, then you get the MPL. Then differentiate with respect MP with respect K, then you get the MPK. So that is the MRTS. To get the condition, we need W over R. W over R. So the W is given the wage rate 8 per hour. R is given 2 per hour. So then the W is 8. R is 2. And also to produce 80, also again, we have to produce 8 units. So the production 8 units. Now what we are going to find, to produce 80 units, the optimal condition. The optimal condition. Since you know this condition already, first order condition, I hope you can find the producer's optimal condition, which means how many units of labor, how many units of capital the particular producer employ at the optimal point. So the optimal point, let's say, is here to produce. I'll give you about 5 minutes. Try to do that. What we have to do, from this equation MRTS, for that you can find the differentiate MPL and the MPK, W and R given. With that, try to find how many units of labor, the optimal point, how many units of capital allocate. So with that, I'll give 5 minutes right from this point, and if you finish even the before 5 minutes, send me the answer to that. So try to do that. If any clarification, any question? Okay. So I was waiting the answers. I did not get any answers, but I asked you to find the optimal, the combination of input. It means how many number of labors and the capital recruit get at the economic efficient point, or optimal combination, what we call to produce. So to this is the equation I gave you. To find first, you have to find MPL. You get the MPL. So how to get the MPL? The differentiate the production function. So if someone need to maybe like simplify L 0.5, A 0.5. So we differentiate this one respect L, you get the marginal product of labor. So when you differentiate, you multiply 0.5 by 10, then answer here get 5. L 0.5 minus 1, sorry, K 0.5. So we can rewrite this again. 5 A L 0.5. So that's what we get. Similarly, you get the marginal product of capital. So this is the condition, MRT is equal price ratio. With that adjustment, so you get A equal 4L. Now we have to look at to produce 80. So taking the production function, because the Q is now 80. So for K, we plug here is the K equal POL, pointed K. Now we use the POL. So rewrite here. With that, we got the answer. Produce 80 optimal amount of labor and capital. The optimal amount of labor and capital you got here. The labor 4 unit. The capital 16 unit. Capital 16 unit. Now you can see there the producer's economic efficient, not only the technological efficiency, the economic allocative efficiency also there at optimal. Now you can find as how much the total cost also to produce 80, the optimal or minimum cost. We know the cost is WL plus RK. W8. Now L, we need a 4 unit plus R is 2. We need the capital 16 unit. So the minimum cost to produce, we need the $64, maybe 1,000 or million, whatever. 64. So here's 64. Now you can see, like I mentioned before, if somewhere here the budget, let's say at this point B, also the to produce 80 producers technical efficient. But it's not the optimal point because the allocative efficiency is not there. Because the both reached at the point A. Now, if you look at the point B, you can calculate how much costs involved. For example, let's say point B, we need about 15 capital and about, let's say, roughly 8 labor. So if the 15 capital and 8 labor, then we need the cost. If it is the point B, to produce 8 is still labor charges per hour 8. Now we need 8 units of labor plus price of capital 2. Now we need the 15 unit of capital. So in that case, we need something about $94, or we spend $94 if the producer produce B point. So it's the technically efficient, you can see in that way, compare with this producer B, the producer A need only 64. So A is the producer who do the optimal combination and the economic efficient producer. Because the B is not concentrate allocative efficiency, not minimize cost. It's quite, let's say the public sector will take this way because the commission and other thing involved here, inefficiency and allocative. And maybe the private sector would be. So my question is here to the optimal combination of input, but we got the labor for capital 16. So something here. Now, like we discussed the long run situation, the long run, at the long run, producers take the decision. Like previous case, at the short run, second stage, at the long run, the producers looking at the return risk scale when they make the decision. The long run also producers pass 3 stages. Long run means about the increase the size of the firm. Increase the size of the firm. Long run mean. How do you do that? Let's say the micro firm, micro level, small level, the medium, large, like that. Right. For that, you need to expand your investment and budget. So that happen, this shift the budget line like this. So that way expand. When you increase this budget, we will discuss this separately later on. Let's say here 100 million, then come to 200 million. Likewise, this way increase 300. maybe 500 like that. So it's about the expand. When they expand or increase the investment budget, producers can logically produce more and more. Isocon curve also everywhere and reach to higher. So that also the optimal point also moving. Connect this optimal point when the firm expand the long run, we get the curve, another curve for connecting all the economically efficient point. For example, A, B, C, D like that. This line we call expansion path. Expansion path. Expansion path. Now, along the expansion path, producers are economically efficient. Now, that is the important point here. You can see here 3 lines, black, blue, and the brown. If you take the blue line here, isocon curve reflect the technical efficiency. Black line here, we call isocost line, they are reflect the calculative efficiency. Which the economic efficiency is all along the expansion path. Expansion path. Now, with that understanding, the expansion path along any point, producers are economically efficient. Now, the point here, expansion, where is this expansion? How is designed? Whether somewhere at the C level, or maybe go further D, or even the somewhere B. Now, to understand that one, we have to look at the return to scale. That is the concept or theory applied the long run. When you look at the return to scale, early stage, when they expand early stage, the firm, we get the increase in return to scale. Increase in return to scale. What does mean? For example, if you increase by 5%, all the input increase by 5%, all the input increase by 5%, output increase by more than 5%. Let's say like 6% or more than 5%. So that situation we call increase in return to scale. When it reached level, we call constant return to scale. Constant return to scale, for example, input increased by 5%, output also increased by same percentage, that's 5%. That is called constant return to scale. So then after the constant return to scale, the producers usually reach to another stage, that's what we call decrease in return to scale. For instance, like say, if you increase input by 5%, all the input, the long run is not one node pure inputs, all the inputs. It's about the expansion of the firm. Increase the inputs, the return you get less than 5%, for instance, like 4%. So that kind of call So, 3 stages of the long run production, 3 stages. Now, the point here, how to identify given production function. Let's say you have a production function like that, A kind of constant term, labor, let's say the coefficient, let's say the coefficient, or maybe any other inputs, let's say the coefficient there. If you estimate this production function, how do you identify the particular firm what you study? The currently running, operating, increase in return, the constant return, or decrease in return. For that, let's say you estimate the production function, I write with the value Q, let's say 6, L, here let's say 0.2, K, let's say 0.4, N, let's say 0.5. So if you collect the data, time series or cross-sectional or panel data, whatever, you estimate if time series in your firm, you get the production function like that. So you can check the production, you operate your firm, the long run, increase in return, constant return, and decrease in return. Why it's important? Because the increase in return is still if you further expand firm, you get a more return or your profit increase. The constant return is a kind of indifferent situation whether expand or not. But decrease in return come definitely when you put money, your return get less than what you put their money. First, I try to show you how to identify with this your estimated function. Then I have another question. If as a producer you reach to constant return or decrease in return, after that, what you do? What you are going to do? So that may be the exam question also. Now, first, we see given production function is the mathematical formation and this is the estimated one. How do you identify whether you are in increase in return risk scale, the constant return risk scale, or decrease in return risk scale? Now here you can see the coefficient relevant inputs related to labor, alpha, capital, beta, gamma. If you add this value in the Cobb-Douglas type production function, these values are, for example, labor elasticity. In case of capital elasticity, capital output. This is N I use for human resources, human capital output elasticity. Adding those elasticity value, if it is greater than 1. Now, for example, let's say here, you can see this 2 plus 0.4, which means the labor output elasticity is 0.2, capital output elasticity 0.5, human capital 0.5. Adding this one, in this case, you can get 1.5. which means the greater than 1, then we can say you are in the increasing return to scale. Then you can, as an economist or manager, you can suggest your director board. So it's still better expand the firm because your profit will increase or return increase. Now, when you add in, if you get the alpha, beta, gamma, whatever the other coefficient also equal to 0, you are in the second, the constant return to scale. Constant return to scale. Get additional profit, more profit, then you need some other boost, some other way to address the thing. Now, adding this alpha, beta, the gamma is less than 1, your firm is in decreasing return to scale. So there the problem coming. Let's say you estimate your using time series data, your firm's production function, you realize that the firm is decreasing return to scale in the long run. Which means investors put money, let's say increase 5%, return they get less than that. So definitely, and not economically efficient and they lose. Now, as a economist, how do you advise your firm if it is even the constant return to decrease in return to scale? The firm operate the long run, constant return, even the worst, decrease in return to scale. How do you advise? So that might be the one of the exam question you think, and you find some inputs. Now, in the case of the short run, if you remember, short run situation, we saw stages. The second stage, the producers take the decision. Second stage, when the firm want to recruit more labor, so the other input, but the firm doesn't expand the size. For example, if it is at the micro level and go for medium size firm. In that way, we shift this second step further and able to recruit more labor. That is about expansion. That is about the long run decision. But here, the already long run decision and the firm decreasing return to scale. What you can do, strategic, or maybe in that way, ideally, as an entrepreneurs, the good entrepreneurs, you stop and sleep and just enjoy what you have. I don't think so. It's a good entrepreneurs. But it's not happen in Sri Lankan firms because we can't see except few, because they are not real entrepreneurs. What they do, struggling to find other jobs or something. They start the firm and they satisfy some level. And the government also harass you, give more expansion, getting more taxes. And they will be satisfied somewhere in the constant return to scale. So the government policymakers has also a role. And so the exam, but I mainly focus on as a producer, what you can do. Not the government policymaker, but that is also the case. When I mentioned the exam in this point, so I forgot to say, after finish this theory of production and the cost also, I will give you a midterm test. Because I found that the assignment, what you have done already, somebody sent and what you got the write-up, quite not impressed and quite weak. So if I give marks, really you may disappointed and you don't get good marks, and because of that I decide to give another midterm test also. That is only the based on theory of production, and the cost also. So I recommended 3 books, and one of the what I written, you go through the exercise also. Most probably at the end of next month, because there at the end of the next month you come to the university. So that's going to be happen physical. The about 1 hour, 1.5 hour test, but I would say it's not an easy one, because only the theory of production and the cost. And please, if you meet each other or maybe somehow work together and do the some exercise. So it's going to happen. This is the October, September, end of the September. I know usually you come at last week to the university. So when you come to the physical, so keep the date free. So that's going to be a midterm test, not only the date free, and work for, and also that any issues or even the issues I have to do because everyone 1 or 2 there. So that. Any questions, anything?
Sir, can you please explain again that previous equation that Q equals 10 LK 0.5?
Yeah.
This
So
one,
this is
sir.
the equation.
Yeah.
When you get the MRTS, first you have to find MPL. So how to get it? You differentiate with respect to L. So there you get the answer, that is MPL. Similarly, you get the MPK. So MPL divided by MPK is the condition MRTS. MRTS. The other side you have W, which is in this case 8, and the R in this case 2. So here with that, you get to, so finally this first equation I name, which means the K equal POIL, that is the first order condition we got from MRTS equal WR condition. So then now what we have to do? Pardon?
So I need
Sorry, I
that.
didn't.
I did previous yellow color equation, how to sort it out. And
So you, if you, yeah, because that's the condition apply, and this is the condition MRTS, and you can get it, right? So if you after you get it, so that's you get it, and you definitely you get it, right? So there you get the equal POIL. Here, what you can, the condition you can rewrite like this also if possible, or whatever way. With that first order condition, you get ultimately equal POIL. Try with that. So after that, you get the K4L equal POIL. The production function to, I mean, because you have to tally with the second order condition, because this is the second order condition. Here, the production function, you have to do equation to get the K and L. Second equation, we get the production function, and plug the first equation to the second one here. Then you get the L equal 4. If L equal 4, you can get the K equal 60. I think we will do some exercise later on, and also I will discuss the cost maybe in the stream. So that how to. Now this is the expansion part I mentioned. This expansion part, you can say the investment increase, the producers expand along this expansion path. There in the graphically, how to identify these 3 stages: increase in return to constant return to scale, and the decrease in return to scale. Like I mentioned, increase in return to scale, if you double input, all the input double, output increase more than that, more than double. Constant return to scale, when the double input, output increase exactly the double, same amount. Decrease in return, when you double the input, output increase less than that. Now, we have to understand why this happened, the increase in return to scale and the decrease in return to scale. The increase in return to scale happened, let's imagine you have a micro level firm, maybe let's say with the 4 workers, they have to do everything. We can't think of a division of labor because not enough labor. But further expand, you get around 20 workers or some. Then the management can allocate specific work to looking at the specialization. We call division of labor. With that, we get the more productivity, increase the productivity, and get the increase in return to scale. Now, further increase the firm, like you have 2,000 workers in your firm. There, the problem is the management related. With typical, you even need about 100 managers, so that's also costly. And also, even the managers, it's communication and those kind of problem arise. Even the corruption, and because they are very difficult to control, this involve a lot of things. And administrative cost also increase. The cost, when I come to the cost side, I will explain it. So that happens in the long run when you firm expand much. When the firm expand too much, too big to control basically. This really we can observe if someone study the industrial economics, how the firm's governing body change over time. If you 1950, 1960, again, I will discuss those things when you come to the cost, 1950, 1960. The industrial world always talk about the theoretically and practically happen hierarchy. One umbrella firm. Within one firms related everything produce, inputs and everything, and it become bigger and bigger. What happened? They realized when this happened, because of decrease in return to scale came, administrative cost increased so much. Administrative cost increased. Control workers, the problem is coming so much. What happened later in 1970, 1980, it happened, the Williamson is the one study and the first and get the Nobel Prize also for this discussion. The firm tried to depend on market. He has written a paper also, hierarchy of market. Try to depend on market, not become bigger and bigger one umbrella, the kind of small level, and all the other necessary inputs and things buy from the market. Now, for example, let's say the car company and the tire. But when they buy market from the tire and others also, other part also, necessary part, let's say we'll take only tire, there are thousands of tire producers, small. That's the problem. Now, the good quality and the best price, firm has to negotiate every transaction happen. That happened in the second stage industrial. So this kind of thing, because the world is full of uncertainty and the information gap also there, this gap getting the best quality, best price, firm has to spend some amount of cost. That cost we call transaction cost. What firm realized that because of this reason, the transaction cost become increasing. When the take of the administrative cost. So then dilemma comes is they go for market or hierarchy. That's what Williamson addressed, and they got the Nobel Prize also. So then what happened 1990, even the 2000, tend to develop network. Now you can see the concept called network. They build up with the network and subcontract and those kind of things happen. Still small size they keep in the increasing return to level or constant return to level, develop network with the other firms and do the transaction. When I did my PhD also, this line, I still remain the question, building network right now is costly exercise. Especially country like Sri Lanka because the pull of institutional issues in the country and the informality. So this networking also, especially I did the small firm, social network, keeping maintained and the building network also costly exercise. So somebody still doing PhD or some can touch that one. But also realize now comes hybrid solution between network and the market, kind of moving hybrid kind of middle solution. So that's why you can see through the value chain, especially subcontract and those kind of thing happen. Now, of course, what we call this network, global production network, even the something more than the supply chain and value chain. In that way, also the international trade and international market get the specialized small component in the one product. Sometime back in this the hierarchy and the one umbrella case, firm tried to get the international trade comparative advantage one entire product. For example, let's say those days you learn maybe tea Sri Lanka, like rice China, or maybe like motor cars in Japan. Now situation also changed. So that, I mean, those return to scale is the micro level concept. It's bring those macro changes. So with that, I'll stop today. Not today, sorry, this production part. Before that, increasing constant and decreasing return to scale, if you need in the exam to show graphically. So the given the equation I show you, the graphically, now look at here, this picture, this graph, point A to B movement, here, both inputs, labor and capital double. Output increase 200 to 400 by 200. By 200. Again, input increase, same rate, 2 to 3. Look at the output increase, 400 to 600, which means 200. Now, always the input increase or input double, output also increase the same rate. That's what we call constant return to scale. So the graph you can see here, the constant return to scale. How I should curve map here, constant return to scale case. So maybe the exam, especially midterm exam, it may useful for you. Now look at this one. This case, like previous case, the input increase A to B, double here. Now look at the A to B output increase A to B, 200 to 400, which means by 200. Again, the input increase same rate, for example, B to C, look at the output increase 400 to 700, which means 300 by 300. Now, previously 200, again, input double, output increase more than that. That is the increase in return to scale using isoquant map. You can demonstrate and you can show. Increase in return to scale. Here 200, then 300, maybe next time 400, like that. The last graph here, input increase A to B, let's say double. Of course, the output increase 200 to 400, it means by 200. Again, the inputs increase the same rate. Output increase only by 100. 400 to 500, output increase only by 100. Decrease in rate. So decrease in return to scale. So maybe the one graph, you should be able to show all the increase in constant return and decrease in return. If you can't do, draw in the one graph all the stages and try to do it before the midterm test with the one graph, constant decrease in return, constant return, and increase in return. So with that, this slide I'll stop today. If you have any question again, please ask me. So, okay, it looked like no question. Then I'll move to the new session. Oh, sorry, what happened? Yeah. So the cost. Now, cost and production is not a separate thing. It's like two sides of one coin. But you can't separate out the cost from production. Here we try to understand the cost concept also, the cost curves and other concepts, because mostly practically producers concentrate or focus on cost side to produce something rather than looking at the concept called economic efficiency, allocative efficiency, technical efficiency, amount of production. It's our jargon, and but they know when they say this is too expensive to produce. The input are too expensive. When they're looking at the cost figures, try to make decisions like whether shut down the firm, if you not how much to produce, looking at cost. Let's say that's a manager or small firm owner, you say this is to stop production because this is costly these days, and maybe you produce this amount and decide the price, and always connect to the cost. So understanding cost side is very important as a producer, even the manager. So, but like I mentioned before, this cost and production side is the same coin with the fruit side. Why I say that? If you look at the production side, for instance, if you remember, we got the average production curve. Now here, look at the shape. Initially increase and come to the maximum point, and then decreasing. If you did not study, but if you look at the later on the cost curve, also average cost curve, it's a mirror reflection of this average production curve is like here. I will later on, if possible today or maybe another day, using algebra, I will also prove this one. Now look at here. The increase, decrease. When you come to the maximum point, here come to the minimum point. So here, the decrease is increase. So the mirror reflection, you see. If you look at the marginal product, okay, the marginal product. Another curve coming from the side, what we call the our marginal cost curve, it goes like that. Again, this is a reflection of, for example, here, marginal product increase, this decrease. The marginal product come to the maximum point, here come into minimum point. So whatever, if you're looking at the cost curves and make a decision, or if you are entirely looking at the production curves, make decision, ultimately you will reach to the same point, same decision. You can see that's what we call later on. Again, we study duality. Duality, we will study next week, most probably those things. So when you come to the cost side, like here, again, I came to the same slide. Look at like I mentioned, the practically as a producer, mainly focus on the cost and the revenue and try to make a decision. You say the cost it's a very expensive and we don't get much revenue and we stop production and shut down, maybe we can wait. And so many things happened the last COVID and the economic crisis situation. You see, those come, always coming cost and the revenue. So the cost side in that way is important. So concept, we need the cost is the total cost. It can be, we look at the short term and the long run. And also the concept, we look at the average cost. Because we talk how much the average cost and this kind of things also important. And also the other side of the revenue, this come from the demand side. The people can tangible and familiar things are cost and revenue. Revenue side, they like say the demand side. And there we identify the total revenue and maybe we can see average revenue. When you make the decision, maybe this average revenue and average cost is very important. But the economic decision is usually come the marginal cost and the marginal revenue. You can see it comes from the cost side, here the demand side. So we will see later on that theoretically the producers maximize profit and also, like I mentioned before, reach the economic efficiency. This marginal cost equal marginal revenue condition satisfied. So they are short term or the long term, and they are the make the decision output level. When this happens, the firms maximize profit and the firm reach economic efficiency point. So you see, when they make the decision, this is a cost understand the cost concept is very important. The other thing also, like I said, the economics, we are taking the opportunity cost equal cost, not like accounting cost. The accounting recording, we use the what really explicitly and really the transaction happen, those costs. For example, how much pay the salaries, wages, material cost on those things. But the opportunity cost is quite different. We know already discussed. So the economics, we looking at the opportunity cost. When we calculate the total revenue, the profit also there in that case. That profit opportunity cost equal profit. Another concept is important to understand the sunk cost. So the cost of expenditure after you made it, you can't recover. For example, if you paid a building, whether you rent or lease, whatever, when make the decision later on, the long term and the short term, this can't take into account in the decision. The sunk cost, so kind of a fixed cost, but not exactly, but quite different. So the cost is already incurred that can't be recovered. And if again look at the short run, that is very important. Short run and the long run. Let's say the cost side, two input is W and L is the labor, W is the wage, and another part you have R and K. R is the price of capital and the K is capital. With the short run, what happened? At least one input constant. Let's say the capital constant. So that's become the variable cost. We'll get the WL. Now to get the average cost, what we do, the short here, total average cost divide by the Q, which means here W L divided by Q plus R K also as constant divided by Q. Now this total average cost, the short run now have two components, total average total cost, average variable cost plus average fixed cost. Average fixed cost. Here the total cost also you can see here total cost plus equal the variable cost, this is the first component, and then the fixed cost. So that is the short run situation. When you come to the long run, all the no fixed input, in that way, it divide by Q, divide by Q, only average total cost concept there. Not like average variable cost, average fixed cost, and three component here, the long run only. Another thing we have to identify when you look at the costs and the marginal cost. If your cost is, function of Q, the marginal cost, if you differentiate this one with respect Q, you get the marginal cost. So these two concepts, or maybe if given table or value, delta, that is change of total cost, divide by change of quantity, you get the marginal cost. This is also same if you delta VC not the vice chancellor, a variable cost, divide by delta this also. Similarly here, if you differentiate not the total cost and the variable cost with respect to Q, also you get the marginal cost. With that, the last point today, go back to here. You see, in the short term, you have total cost, the fixed cost plus variable cost. You know what it is. And the marginal cost, what we already now introduced, delta VC, and then you get the differentiate. Also, this is also true. You differentiate dVC respect Q also, you get the marginal cost. The average total cost also, like I did, you see, total fixed cost divide, you get the average fixed cost. Total variable cost divide Q, you get the average variable cost. Total cost divide Q, you get the average total cost. With that, this is the last point, this table. You can see if you, I think I'm not sure I upload this to LMS. If not tonight, or I will do that. Otherwise, take a picture right now. I'm going to give a 10-minute exercise. So now maybe the midterm test also quite similar table I'll give you, and you have to build it. And there are some exercise also, the book I have written, you can look at, and there are exercise also you can do. This exercise, what you have to do first, the figures given, the quantity here, 0 to 11. Then the total fixed cost given, 500. And the total cost is given 500 like that given. What you have to do, fill this table, total variable cost, VC, average fixed cost, average variable cost, average cost and marginal cost. So after completing this table, draw this graph. The first one, this axis, put the Q quantity, here total cost, variable cost, total variable cost, the fixed cost. Then underneath is again draw another set of curves and the same Q here. This axis vertical, average total cost, average variable cost, and the marginal cost. You draw. Now when you draw maybe the fixed cost, you get the curve like this. And the other curves also different shape you get. And try to get understand the shape. For example, total variable cost you get like this. Total cost like this. Here also U-shape curves you get. Average curve, the marginal curve, average total curve like this. And do this exercise, maybe similar exercise, quite a complicated one, midterm test you will get. So for this, I will give you, I stop this point anyway, but before 3 o'clock, better finish this one. And otherwise you don't have time. I know you have so many other responsibilities, also work, families. And so with that minute you take it and do it and draw. And some more exercise also do before midterm test and the end of next month. And so with that, I'll stop. If any question, please ask me. And before I close this slide, and take a picture, otherwise this value you don't get it, and complete this table, the graph. If you have any questions, you can stay another 2-3 minutes and you can ask me. If others no question, you can leave the meeting. So if no questions also, we all can leave the meeting right now. Any? And the final announcement, midterm test, end of the September, the last week when you come to the university. And today is the last day for the assignment. And yeah, those two. Okay, it looked like no questions, and then yeah. So all the books, even the what I have written, you can get from the library. The department library is there. You can get it. There are some similar exercise also. That was very small book, about 50, 60 pages. Within one day, you can go through, you can do it. And okay, it looked like no questions. Then have a nice weekend. Already we can finish, of course. Okay, bye bye. Thanks.